What's going on, y'all? It's the HODL. We're back in here with another video. It is Thursday, Friday Eve, and you know what time it is, man. It is the week, it's the work week traditionally for people in most developing countries, or even third world countries. You know, during the week, people work, they lend their working energy in exchange for monetary energy, which would be fiat currency of that respective country, which is constantly dissipating, which you would know if you was watching or reading up on U.S. news recently. They doubled down again. 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck from working wages, right? As inflation eats away at working wages. So this is a very inconspicuous, I mean, not inconspicuous, but it's just not a good position to be in. So with that type of energy, where that monetary energy is dissipating, in turn your working energy is dissipating, you want to try to capture it into one of the hardest, scarcest assets that are out, that's been pretty much discovered in human existence, which in my humble opinion is Bitcoin, because of the fact it's backed by a secure, immutable network, that in turn, that security is all backed by energy hash rates at all-time highs, and what is native on that network is a scarce supply of a digital asset. And this digital asset also has a fixed monetary policy, right? So it's only a certain number, it's capped, but at the same time has a monetary policy when it comes to validating it. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into all that, but if you are smart enough to be doing whatever you can to save your work and monetary energy and acquiring this asset, Bitcoin, kudos to you. And if you're doing it, do it responsibly. Check out the link down below for a decentralized peer-to-peer exchange for Bitcoin trading called HODL.com. The link's down in the description. All you need is an email address and password, no KYC. And then once you acquire your Bitcoin, you want to try to look into preferably a open source hard wallet. And down in the CoinKite.com store, down below CoinKite.com, there is a cold card wallet, open source Bitcoin only wallet, and I think it's very much reviewed. Let's get into it. So yeah, the US just got some numbers in. GDP has went up 2% last quarter. Surprise, surprise. What does this mean? That means maybe the Federal Reserve will probably try to continue tightening the belt on the economy by raising interest rates. We don't know at this point. At some point, they have to pause and turn around and start really bringing in liquidity heavy, maybe even much worse than what we saw back in 2020 in that great V-shaped recovery of all markets, which took Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies to new all-time highs. But and also we're seeing that, you know, at the same time, economically, people aren't doing too well here. 60% living paycheck to paycheck. Inflation is still accelerating, and it is eating away at working wages. So, full stop. Now, what I want to cross over into is more on the news side of, for you Bitcoin hodlers and you shitcoin hodlers. There was a hearing today for the U.S. SEC Chairman Gary Gensler. He is the person that stands in between the cryptocurrency market, I would say more so Bitcoin, because only Bitcoin ETFs, spot ETFs, are actually having applications being sent to them for the SEC approval. So this guy stands in between a Bitcoin spot ETF being approved and almost $18 trillion worth of investable capital coming over from these financial institutions such as the BlackRocks, Fidelities, Charles Schwab's, JP Morgan's, all of them, you name it. So in the hearing was interesting. I only saw highlights, but from what I understand, he was being grilled and by Congress people. And in my humble opinion, it really looks like there's more than meets the eye. A lot of people are really falling for the charade, the facade, or facade, the farce, which is this back and forth between good guy, bad guy. I really believe that they're all on the same page. If you just scale back, get your emotions out of it, and say, well, who's applying for a Bitcoin ETF who hasn't got one yet? BlackRock. Okay. And who owns the most real estate or investable assets? Who has the most invested in a lot of different things in the U.S.? BlackRock. And we already know how Congress is. You don't think BlackRock? If you don't believe that there's been a history and even present day conflict of interest when it comes to the financialization and the buying of our politicians in the U.S., then you are being very naive. Okay, so if you don't think BlackRock is a broker, a broker for any of these Congress people who are supposedly grilling the SEC chairman, then you're just falling for the emotional game all over again. Am I saying anything? No, I'm not really saying anything. What I'm saying is just get out of the emotional game that they're playing right now. Yes, obviously prices are being suppressed. Obviously, Gary Gensler, when he was speaking before Congress, he was not trying to give definitive answers to clear, concise questions. He would simply restate things that you probably can read from the US SEC website about what would fit into the definition of a security and what wouldn't, what the Howey test means and what it doesn't, and based on those things. He's not going to say, yes, Bitcoin is this. Yes, Ethereum is this. Yes, this is this. He continued to express his outlook that he genuinely believes that the greater cryptocurrency industry is rife with fraud and manipulation, and that he is looking out for the American investor to protect them from scammers and fraudsters. Full stop. And I think that was really closely quoted right there, word for word, what I just said. So again, he's doubling down on his stance. There's no turning back. And this is a guy who taught classes at MIT on these subject matters. So is he stifling innovation? I don't think so. What innovation? There is no innovation. A lot of shit coins have been around for a few years, and there's not have been any applied innovation yet. Only promises, only kind of like a pretend world that's been created that's actually has hurt a lot of American investors. I mean, just look at the past 36 months of what has happened in the space, how much people have lost, okay, in this implosion. He did go on to verbally say that Bitcoin is not a security, which we already know. And so I thought this was just interesting that I think the XRP community, a lot of these altcoin guys are being put on notice. I think they're gradually coming into, and I don't really care what they believe in at this point, but I think notice has been put out once again that this is just not going to be a blowover from that small court victory saying that retail investors are not protected by the SEC. That is not a big deal. It is about the institutions. And so I believe you're going to see more enforcement or more moves to bar and delist a lot of these altcoins from being accessible to institutional investors, like we've seen in New York City with the financial department of New York City, or not New York City, but the state of New York, delisting XRP off the green list and quite a few other cryptocurrencies, things like that. So anyways, just wanted to share my thoughts on that. I hope you guys are having a good day. I hope you guys are using your brain and putting your capital to work where it needs to go. I'm out of here. Till next time.